I challenge everyone to share with the younger generation.
Something, you know,
and the
anything.
older ones.
Your diapers. You know how much your diapers cost?
Exactly.
You know how much your formula costs?
Yeah.
You know how much I could sell this breast milk for?
Yeah.
So thank you for being my financial ally. Who
love you.
is your financial ally?
Oof.
Have you ever heard me use the term in a pickle?
Never.
Never, and you probably never will ever again. What's up, you guys? I am here with my sister Claudette, and today we're going to be talking about something a little interesting.
Yes.
Hopefully it's interesting to you as much as it is interesting to moi. It is generational wealth.
Yes.
Now you might be looking at us like, why y'all telling us about generational wealth? Who sent you some wealth? we didn't get it in the generation before us. But we're going to switch it up for this next one, right?
That's right. Amen.
You could have generational curses. You could also have generational blessings. Hallelujah. So, Claude, when you think about generational wealth, let's keep it real. Are you like, yes, that's our family?
No. No, not at all.
Because, like, we
Yeah.
see movies and shows and, like, maybe some people that we actually know in person
Yes.
that you're like, oh, my dad gave me, you know, I'm inheriting his house. And we're like,
No.
what will
We're
I-
just trying to figure it out here.
yeah, like
We're figuring it out.
forget what I'm gonna inherit. I'm trying to figure out what I currently
Myself.
have. What do I
Yes.
have?
Yes.
Not what I'm getting. What do I have?
Exactly. And I really want to pass that down to the girls.
Yeah.
Because there's something that I'll never forget Will Smith said when his son, he was much younger, said, "Dad, this is like our house." And he was like, no, this isn't our house. This is my house.
That part.
And I love that angle where it's like, I don't want to teach my kids that I'm just going to pass things down to you, but I want them to have financial literacy. I want them to know how to gain that, how to sustain it, and how to build it, really.
Yeah. How to want it for themselves.
Yes, yes.
I can't want it for you.
And again, it's not even about the amount of money, but it's just being able to sustain a lifestyle that you want, however that looks like.
Thinking about the way that we grew up, I gotta be honest, 20 years ago, I would never think that I'd be sitting in this house that I own.
It's pretty, right?
Thank you. On a sofa, talking about financial freedom, financial literacy, and financial wealth with you, because that's just not how we were raised.
No, not at all.
At all. So to be here doing this is so wild. Like, for instance, Claude, when I started my career and you're like, okay, so now Adrienne's in, like, I started on the music industry and then from there I got into television and film. But during that time in my career, were you kind of like, what does this all mean for me on a financial level? Because if we're being honest, I worked for a really long time and did not have money. So it probably didn't impress you at all because there was nothing there to be impressed by.
Well, I think that, honestly, when you first started making money, I think that we were all concerned because you just wanted to share with everybody. And that was difficult for me and mommy.
That's so bizarre that would be the concern.
Because all you wanted to do was take everybody out. You wanted to give everyone vacations. You wanted to, and it's funny because mommy's a worry bird.
My mom,
because she didn't grow up with anything.
I love
so it's
her,
like trying to
but
hold
especially
on.
when it comes to money, she definitely has nervous energy.
Yeah.
And she can be a worry wart, which I
Yes.
guess is what moms are supposed to be. But you're right, mom's worry comes from she never experienced money. And so it's hard for her to see how people spend money, why they spend money the way they do, and how can they spend their money like that is a very big question for my mom. So even with like you, Claudette, and your career and you having your own money, when you spend or you do something, I know that still to this day to mom, it's like, you spend how much?
Because in order, and something that you've taught us is, in order to make money, you do have to spend money. You did teach us that. But in the beginning, we were concerned because I think the pendulum swung so much that you really wanted to bless everybody.
Because I think there was a part of me that felt like I wanted them to share in this wealth, but in an unwise way, versus now I'm like, I want them to share in this wealth in a way that...
Of knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Knowledge.
And that's a huge difference, which is what we're doing today, people.
Yes. And that's really important.
Yeah.
Really, really important.
I think for us, another really big part was the simple fact that fear comes with not having knowledge. If you don't know,
so important.
It can be really scary. The idea of it can be scary. Everything that has to do with it can be really scary.
Do you know that I was in my 30s? Guys, moment of transparency. 20s and 30s, I didn't really know what a mortgage was. I didn't know how, isn't that?
Neither did I. I didn't know until I bought my first home at 36.
You see, and these are things that for our kids and the generations, we will change that
100%. Like the fact that we were able to do it, but the reality is you can't change it unless
you yourself
change.
Yep.
I can't change the next generation unless I change myself.
Yep.
And I think there's something really special about that is like, okay, maybe my mom couldn't teach me this because she wasn't informed, then I'm gonna take the time and the effort to make sure that I'm informed so that I can make informed decisions and so that I can be an example to my children. I know, Claude, when you were trying to figure out like how you were gonna send Jet to school initially.
Yes.
And you were like initially thinking about sending her to like this incredible private school and it was gonna be very expensive. And then we had this conversation about like why it could also be awesome if you figured out what it is that she loves and really curating an incredible curriculum for her with everything she could ever want, personalized and tailored to her wants, her needs, her interests with that amount of money. Yep. But what were some of the other reasons why you were like, homeschooling could be awesome?
Again, just teaching them life skills. The fact that, and I hear now a lot of kids are learning about taxes before they leave high school, but I wanted to teach them now at this very, very young age to figure out how they want to spend money, to actually have their minds wrapped around how much a dollar is. I know that sounds crazy. I don't have the best, I always say, concept of time. And I also feel like I was like that with money.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. I used to look at a certain amount of money and go, oh, that's a lot. No. And I did the same thing with time. I have an hour.
Girl,
an hour goes like this, and so does a dollar. And I want them to, I want to instill
understand the value
of money. And that, I really strongly believe that comes from a very young age. Mm-hmm. And it comes from very simple things of, mommy, I'm gonna go inside this store and I'm gonna spend, I want you to know how much groceries cost a week. So now we're doing spreadsheets so that you can really grasp what that is. And I challenge everyone that I go to, even like my girlfriends that have children, cousins, nieces, nephews, start imparting the little knowledge that you think is little, share that with someone. Because you really don't. The fact that Jared sat me down and had to explain this is what a mortgage was when I was in my 30s was wonderful. And also I felt like, man, I'm gonna do this at a younger age for my girls because knowledge is power, man.
Absolutely.
So I challenge everyone to share with the younger generation.
Something you know,
and the older ones. The other thing that I would highly recommend is when you are starting out, it's wonderful to, and this is something my husband showed me, to actually write down and see what you're spending on a monthly basis, seeing those numbers and just adding a little bit more onto it to create like a fudge room. I call it fudging the numbers a little bit, just to give yourself some room for error.
You're padding the numbers.
Guys, always pad your numbers.
Just to give yourself room for error.
You will always spend more than what you are allotted, and that is the truth. And I learned that from Jared. Seeing the Excel spreadsheet, I'm not a tech-savvy person. That was difficult for me.
Yeah.
But I would encourage everyone to actually write down and see those numbers and see first what it is that you're spending on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And really, really see where you can possibly cut back, where you can, make those adjustments. But just seeing those numbers, first step.
I have a crazy question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever considered sitting the girls down and showing those numbers to them?
We do.
Okay, that to me is groundbreaking because I think that as a child, I lived in a house where there was food, sometimes good food, sometimes we do what you gotta do.
Cereal.
But the reality is, I didn't understand what it took to provide those things for me. You just, I think as children, you assume like, oh, my parents go to work.
Yeah.
I had no idea what it cost to live in the apartment I lived in. I had no idea what my mom made yearly, what her salary looked like, what my dad's salary looked like.
That's true. We had no idea.
We had no idea. They never told us. They never shared that with us.
Yeah.
So I think one of the most beautiful things for creating generational wealth is one, transparency.
Yeah.
As like just being really honest, like, hey, this is what I make on a yearly basis. This is what our rent is in our home, or this is what we pay for our mortgage.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds silly, but getting the kids involved in helping to contribute to that overhead, I not only think that it encourages your kids to be aware, but also it encourages them to want to be a part of that on a familial basis.
Yes. We are raising our kids differently from the way we were raised.
Yeah.
We took a trip to Disney. We've done that twice. When the girls turned 5, the girls wanted to go again after the pandemic. They were like, let's go to Disney. My husband sat them down.
Oh, I love this.
And let them, do you remember this?
Yes.
He said, I want you to sit down and I want you to know how much it costs to go to Disney. Showing your children, number one, to me, it creates a heart of gratitude because that stuff it's not cheap. And then you start to realize that the kids become more aware of what they're asking so that there's no entitlement issues.
Yes.
And guess what? We said, collect the money for your plane ticket, collect the money for your plane ticket. And when they got, do you remember that?
They were in their rooms. We overheard them. They were counting their payments. I have $50, and how much do you have? We don't have enough for even one plane ticket.
Well,
we don't. They were in there plotting and planning, trying to figure out how they could afford.
And guess what? We have not gone to Disney. But I love it. They've gone before. They know the taste of that. You work for it now.
The way I'm gonna be like, little kid, listen, your diapers. You know how much your diapers cost?
Exactly.
You know how much your formula costs?
Yeah.
You know how much I could sell this breast milk for?
Yeah.
But I don't think people have real concepts of what things cost. And I think it's healthy.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be done in a way that you make your child feel like they are a burden to you.
No,
but
not
simply,
at all.
hey, this is what it is. This is what this costs, and this is what it costs to be an adult and to keep our family afloat. Finances is not something scary. It's not something you need to be afraid of. It's not something that should be uncomfortable.
That's
it can actually be
save you from that type of behavior.
Exactly. So that then you're not avoiding it.
Exactly.
So that then you're not just saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna put this bill aside. It is not going anywhere. Handle it." Yeah. So smart. I gotta say, Claude, in some of my biggest financial pickles, you've always been an ally to me, like a financial ally for me, whether it's from literally co-signing with me or when I ended up having to move back to New York after the Cheetah girls. I literally couldn't find an affordable apartment, and my sister was like, there's an apartment available across the hall from me.
Oh, that was so
Not
good.
only will you be across the hall from me, but it actually was a pretty good price. Granted, it was, if I walked too fast from here over there, I would have fell out the window. Like, Angie, do you remember that apartment? Do you remember that apartment that was across the hall from Claudette on 99th between 3rd and Lang?
You stayed over on the little Fulton. Yeah, it was a futon. Where the kitchen was in the bathroom. The bathroom was in the kitchen. Do you remember that?
It was a very affordable.
It was tiny, and I got winded going upstairs.
Yeah, because it had no elevator. It was a walk up.
Yep.
Right by Spanish Harlem.
It was in Spanish Harlem.
Yeah.
And I knew the super, and I was like, "Can you get my sister in?"
She got the hookup.
Yeah.
So thank you for being my financial ally.
I
Who
love you.
is your financial ally?
Oof. Funny, you have blessed me. Like I said, she paid many. I'm walking around with a full-on RN state license, couldn't get a job out of school, very difficult, and you blessed me so much.
One of the things that I think is really dope is that when you create generational wealth, you have people that you can call on in the time of need. And I think we grew up in a generation when we were much younger where my mom didn't have that. My mom didn't have a family member who, if she was in a hard time, she can call them and say, "Hey, can you lend me money? Can you cover me for rent this month?"
Yeah.
And I think there's something really special about being that now for each other and teaching our children to be that for one another as well.
Yep.
That they never have to feel like they don't have somebody that they can call on if they were in a pickle.
Yep.
Have you ever heard me use the term in a pickle?
Never.
Never. And you probably never will ever again. In a pickle. If there's stuff that now we feel like we can teach Jet and Bo, what is something we think mommy taught us or papi taught us that now we still hold on to?
Well, I to have the utmost respect for your finances, because mommy, she has a lot of respect for that area in her life.
I have to say, she's really taught me the value of money. And when I say that, it's not about how much you make, you still don't have to spend a lot of money. Like, I literally the other day was like going through my closet with my mom, and I still had tags on certain things, and she saw a pair of my jeans that I think was like $200 and something, and her reaction was like, "Are you stupid?" I actually, that's exactly what she said. And she said,
"That sounds about right.
Old Navy has these same jeans. Let me show you." And I think there's something actually really dope about having money but not feeling like you have to spend it to keep up some sort of like, oh, well, I have the money now, I can spend it. I love that she kind of taught me that, like, you don't ever have to be impressive to anyone.
At all.
Like, don't think you have to spend money to, like, impress someone.
Yeah.
And she literally looked at me and asked me if I was stupid about my jeans. Claude, what would you say is one major mistake you made financially and that you've learned from?
Living beyond my means.
Don't do that.
And for what? Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, what were the things that you were spending on that just did not make sense?
If I'm making, and I'm throwing a number, if I'm making $1,000, I should not be spending $1,000.01. Do not live paycheck to paycheck. Do not live beyond your means.
Yeah, I think for sure. In my mind, I would be like, oh, I just got this amount of money.
Let's spend it.
Somehow in my mind, that meant I should go spend that amount of money.
Never
I
again.
don't know how that literally used to register in my mind. I literally would say, oh, I want this certain thing. And let's say it was $500.
Yeah.
If I got $500, I'd be like, yes, now I can get it.
And that's how
they
we
actually
grew up.
say you should have at least twice the amount of something you spend on. I'd say 3 times the amount. Like, if there's a purse that you really want, I feel like a lot of us young women, especially when you're younger, you want to be a part of that fashion community. You want to enjoy the luxuries of, and I get it. Yeah. But they actually say before you invest in something like that, you should have at least 3 times the amount before you spend it.
That's right.
They actually said 2 times, but I just put gasolina on it and I made it.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
So that's the big lesson that I've learned.
I feel like with all these lessons, the fact that I've been able to learn so much from you, I've been able to learn so much from Jared, from Israel, even now mom has learned so. I feel like that impact that now we can have on your children, on my children, on my grandchildren and their grandchildren, I really think it'll set them up just so differently for life. And the reality is, most of us were not set up in the best way, but we now have the opportunity to change that for the generations to come.
Yes.
Thank you guys for watching this. I hope you guys got some good tips, I hope you're inspired just to like
start the conversation at home.
That's a great point. Well, we love you guys. Don't forget to subscribe.